Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today, Building Your Sales Plan. Thank you for joining us. I am the disembodied voice with no webcam. I'm Allie Stevens with the Florida SBDC at UNF. In case you are unfamiliar with the SBDC, we are part of a statewide network, and our mission is to help your small businesses start, grow, and succeed. We do this by offering training and webinars like this one today, but also by providing no-cost confidential consulting in all aspects of business management and growth. Topics such as business plan review, marketing strategy, financial analysis, building a sales plan, and more. We are offering all these consulting sessions virtually right now, and all of our contact info will be in the final slides of the presentation, and I'll add them to the chat so you can have those links there. Quick housekeeping. Ask your questions throughout the presentation in the questions section of your control panel, and we will address all the questions at the end of the presentation. And some of you may have received an email from me with a workbook that we'll be going through during the presentation, and I realize that some of you are new registration, so I have that uploaded on your control panel in the handout section. If you go to your handout section, you should be able to click on it, select it, and open it. And you will all be receiving this recording after today's presentation in a follow-up email that will also have a survey attached to it. We thrive on our feedback. It helps us to continually improve what we offer to our small businesses. So with all that said, I'm going to hand it over to Jody Henson, our consultant in Nassau County, to introduce you to our speaker and explain a little bit more about why today's presentation is so important to your business. So Jody, take it away.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone, and thanks for joining us today. It's my pleasure today to introduce our presenter, Mr. Ed Gagliardi. Ed is a new member of the SBDC team here at UNF. He brings over 30 years of experience in marketing and sales and business development. During Ed's career, he has worked extensively with small and medium-sized businesses, as well as Fortune 500 companies, Colgate-Palmolive. After coming to Northeast Florida, Ed did extensive consulting work with small businesses in South Florida, a niche which he is particularly fond of. So we're thrilled to have him with us. Today, he's going to walk us through how to create a sales plan, which is focusing on those activities which are critically important to anyone responsible for generating sales and revenue within your companies. With that, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Ed. Take it away, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Jody. I appreciate those thoughts. Thank you, Allie, for all the housekeeping, and welcome. We're going to get right into it now. I apologize for the sunshine. It's getting late fall, and now all of a sudden it squeaks through where it shouldn't and hasn't for quite a while. But nonetheless, I'm not going to be staying on screen. I'm going to go right to the slides. We have workbooks. If you have printed them out, great. Make your notes right there. If you haven't, then you're probably going to want to make some notes somewhere as we go through the slides. Okay, so I'm going to be leaving. I'll catch up with you a little bit in virtual at the end. Okay, well, building your sales plan. It's generally one of those tasks that's rarely committed to in writing. The crazy pace of smaller businesses and us as humans generally sends this project to what we call the back burner. However, today we're going to address it head on. Let's think about how many times you've hired a new sales and marketing person. They walk in the first day and you wind up spending most of that day explaining your business, your goals, your target customers, your preferred products, the details of your pricing and discounting, your expectations, and certainly their goals and their compensation, reporting policies, procedures, and last but not least, if you haven't answered all the questions, you let them know who in the company to go to if they have any further issues or questions to ask. Certainly a huge demand on your time, and when you think about it for a minute, you may realize that you probably don't have all of the answers that come up in that kind of day right at your fingertips. But what if you had already made those decisions and they were all in one document? Well, that's it. That's the sales plan. That's what we're going to build today. What would that mean to you? Well, let me go over just a few benefits. The plan confirms your business intentions. You've probably heard that. It's one of those words these days or slogans these days that we should have a business intention. It's there for you and your staff to routinely review and also challenge. Also, as unexpected issues come up. So you can then look at that plan and say, well, we didn't figure on that. Is there anything that we could do that we're doing now, do differently and perhaps better? You could use the plan, or at least an abbreviated part of the plan, as a new hire reference guide, answering many of the questions we all have when starting as a new employee. That will certainly save you and your staff many, many hours answering the same questions over and over again. And it's not only for the sales staff, but how about a version for your internal and external marketing people, your vendors, at least an abbreviated form of it. And why not your administrative staff? They should know what you're thinking about and who your target customers are. And certainly if you ever have to apply for a loan, it could really be a backbone of a financial plan that you may probably, well, not may, you will be requested by the bank. So there's lots of benefits to building a sales plan. Now I'm going to move right on to the screen and keep going here. I was going to be on camera initially, so I'm going to keep moving. The objective today is to walk you through the thinking about the who, what, where, and when of your business. You're going to be prompted to think through many of the alternatives and about each of those and how they pertain to your sales team. And then you're going to commit that information in writing into a workbook. Now, I mentioned before about printing out the workbook. If you have it, let's grab it. The process is simple. We'll go through each page, and I've completed each page with an example. And some of the pages may not be relevant to your business, and that's okay. We're going to be moving pretty fast, and you're not going to have time to complete it and fill it out, all of the boxes, so to speak. But I suggest you write in some notes that you can reference later. And I will be available in the future to assist if you need any help in the completion process. So let's get going. Okay, we will be discussing many aspects of your business, from your objectives and goals to the customers and products you want your sales force to focus on, to how you promote and generate leads through your advertising, how you want your sales team to track and report sales activity, how you interact and communicate with your team, what method of sales compensation do you use, and finally, some overall general policy. It's a lot to cover in 1 hour, and we will be moving along, as I said. And however, we're going to be leaving time at the end for questions. So make sure you put those questions in as they come to you during the presentation. So we'd like to go to the first page in your workbook. It should look like this. Our approach is to take you through each of the workbook pages, discuss their purpose and have you complete it again, or make enough notes so you can reference and finish it up later. I'm now going to be moving to the next slide, which is the same one, but completed with an example customer. And here I use the car dealership. And again, I ask that you could use these completed answers simply as an example as to how it may apply to your business. Setting objectives is certainly something we've all talked about, and probably the first question any consultant ever asks you. But I'm sure you've all heard, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to end up somewhere else. Well, it's certainly not important for you to know what direction you want your business to go, but also critical to have your sales team know those goals and what's expected of them to help you achieve it. That is the purpose of committing your sales goal for your entire team in writing right here and deliver it to them. Now, here they broke up their sales into quarters. Why? Because it just keeps them focused on achieving short-term goals that, if met, are steps to meeting the annual sales goal. You want to know each quarter or even each month whether you're on track to make your annual number. This check on progress will quickly raise any flags if you're off your target, and the earlier you learn, the more time you have to correct. Well, now that we've looked at that overall goal, how do you look at your sales? Is it as simple as one overall number, or do you break it down into the major categories of what you sell or offer? In this example, they broke down vehicle sales between the obvious cars and trucks, and they also have a separate goal for service and repairs. You might want to break down your sales in enough detail so each piece can be tracked and managed individually. Now, another metric they use is the number of new customers. They have a goal for new customers. For you, it may be something else. It may be the number of quotes delivered, for example, or a closing ratio. Identify a key metric for your business and set a goal. If your business consists of multiple offices or reaches across regions of the state, you may want to set a goal for each, again, to manage and check. Channel sales. Here, they do have channels. They sell to retail and to commercial. Break it down. Again, by capturing this detail, you're going to have that early warning time needed to put remedies in place if things are sliding off your track. Now, customer turnover is another measurement that's important to every business. The amount of time and cost to acquire new customers is so large that you want to minimize losing any customers. Gaining 5 new customers while unknowingly losing 2 will quickly catch up with the health of your business. This company sets its retention goal at 90% for commercial customers, and that kind of makes sense because they buy trucks, vehicles throughout the year, not just every 2 or 3 or 4 years, and 50% for retail. Keeping score throughout the year is just good basic sales management. Now let's go to your next page in the workbook. Every business has a personality, a set of characteristics that make up the who, the what you sell, the where you sell it, and how you go about generating potential buyers. The first is the who, and this is where you describe your target or ideal customer. Perhaps you haven't thought about this concept in quite this way. There may be a number of different ideal customers in your business. In this case, there are 2. For retail, it's couples with children, and for commercial, it's businesses with trucks on the road. Pretty obvious, but documented down here, thought about, and intentional. In addition, under strategic, do you have customers or prospects who are particularly important or strategic to your growth, such as high volume users of your product that you have not been able to sell to? If so, this is where you enter them. You want your sales team to know who the big whales are in your territory. Under new and existing customers, you may want to put specific notes of strategies you have to build your base of new customers or increase the retention of existing ones. Now, as owners on the products, you have an ideal product that you want to focus on. Now, it may be based on profitability, its uniqueness, current market trends, a bare bones version, or a loaded one with lots of options. It may simply be the one that best fits your ideal or targeted customer that we just mentioned. The next is your territory. Now, this is driven by where your ideal customer is. And for most of us, those customers are nationwide. But your territory is likely not everywhere. Now, if the product is sold online, it is close to everywhere. But in that case, do you sell internationally and ship, or just domestic? Do you ship to Alaska, Hawaii, the Caribbean? Some do, some don't. Documented here. Another consideration, is it delivered by your sales team or your service person or a route truck? Drive time then becomes critical. How much time could be afforded driving from one stop to another? And in the case of a retail store, your territory is how far your customers will drive to your store. Simple as that, but document it. In this case, the marketing area of this dealership is a radius of 30 miles. Now there is the how. How do you reach your prospects and generate leads for your sales team. They're going to want to know that, and you're going to want to have certain strategies and tactics that generates those leads. The days of cold calling in person are certainly long gone. If you have in-house or field salespeople, though, you're going to be developing leads for them. Is it through your website? Does the website take orders? Does it solicit inquiries, which turn into leads? Does your marketing prompt incoming phone calls? Then how are those calls passed along to the appropriate salesperson? All should be entered here. Next page in your workbook. Here's where you provide the team with more detail on the key products and services. This direction provides them with specifics of the products and services that will drive your business to its highest profitability. Now, depending on your business, the key products can simply be the most profitable, but perhaps as a percentage of the market share, they're not that high. On the other hand, they could be the highest volume drivers or unique in some other way, such as a patent, or they are on a special promotion for a limited time. You want to document that here. This dealership wants their team to focus on commercial trucks and SUVs. That's certainly the market trend right now. And they also picked a certain price range. For example, trucks, the price range above 30,000, and they've also noted here their discounting authority. While they're in front of the customer, what authority do they have to discount to? Here, it's $100 over invoice. Also noted are any special promotions under rebates, low financing rates, things like that should be put in here as well. And in this example, repair and maintenance is noted as also having special commission rates. It's a very profitable part of their business. They pay a higher commission on it. Let your sales team know that. So when they're in front of that customer, they make sure they offer them those kinds of contracts. Any additional information such as promo end dates, clearance items can be noted in the last column. Anything else that you got going that you want them to know. Next page in the workbook. Now we're on to the area of product positioning, how your products and services stack up against your competition. In my view, this is one of the most important points to clearly define to your sales team, particularly in a crowded competitive marketplace such as car sales or services such as landscaping or pest control. Your ideal customer, your prospective customer, impacts which products you choose to key on. Certainly, we mentioned that before. In this example, cars and SUVs. If you recall, the target customer was 22 to 45-year-old couples with children. What are the unique benefits that specifically appeal to that ideal customer and your ideal customer? In this case, a family, certainly more safety features and more space in that old third row in the back versus your competition. That's your advantage. For trucks and selling to the commercial market, your vehicles have a higher towing capacity and better fuel economy, all things that are going to appeal to the business owner. Now, it's pretty obvious to you, but have these things been made clear to your sales team? By putting it here and documenting it here, you're being intentional and communicating it direct. Now, what benefits, for example, do you want your salespeople to key on? They're going to come here. They're going to learn this. It's going to become part of their everyday sales pitch. You certainly don't want them to say just price when somebody says, well, how does your truck stack up against the comparable Chevy? You want them to be able to go into specifics. Now, we know there are usually few key points and set what you are selling and how they are set apart from competition. As is done in this slide, they list the key competitors along with the key points that differentiate you from them. Next page.
Hey, Ed, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We had somebody pop in about that robo form on your screen. If you could X out of that, it's kind of blocking some of the view.
Could you say that again, Allie?
The robo form dialog box that popped up on your screen there, if you could just X out of that, It's kind of blocking some. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt.
Didn't even notice it. I'm so used to the thing popping up. Pardon me. I apologize for that. Okay, the next, we're on to advertising. The purpose of this page is to identify the marketing programs and materials that will generate leads, support sales presentation, increase your brand awareness, build goodwill, and generate leads for the sales team. Your advertising, whether it's traditional print, local TV, radio, or digital these days, whatever is proven to be effective in delivering your message should be noted on this page. Knowing the schedule of the ads alerts your team to walk-ins or phone calls from prospects who happen to mention the ads. You want your team to be informed to maximize your invested dollars in advertising. Events, local shows, festivals, sporting events, they all provide opportunities to build your brand awareness. Again, your sales team needs to know the what and when and perhaps participate. Collateral sales materials, traditional printed items to assist in the selling process. Brochures, mailers, all directing the reader to their website these days. That's really the powerhouse. All effective programs that you are currently or planning to invest in should be noted here. And last is promotional items. And again, at events, we all have for our businesses branded giveaways that you traditionally utilize to support your brand at these events. Next page. An informed team is a successful team. So how do you communicate with your team? How do you communicate the what, when, and who? Is there a routine or is it random? Do they know when they can expect to get an update on progress? Ask questions, hear about new products. Are there routine training sessions taking place? How often and when do salespeople have to submit sales reports? And how will they receive leads? And who do they go to for simple sales support other than you? There are just some other ways to communicate with your team. Some ideas are offered in this example. They have a sales meeting each week at Monday at 1 p.m. and they have their product and sales training Monday, same Monday, just before the sales meeting, however, at noon. Again, they know exactly when and where. All website and advertising leads come from Jeff, and they come every day. Walk-ins are assigned as they come in on a rotating basis for any reps that are on the floor. It's all here, nice and neat. Minimize questions, issues. Everybody's been told. Now it's up to your team to execute, your staff to support, and management, you and your sales manager, to hold everyone accountable. Next page in your workbook. We touched on this earlier with the weekly sales reports due on Thursday. Well, the purpose of this page is to communicate the when and what information is needed and who needs it. In this case, they report lots of details about each transaction, whether it's leased, financed, so on. The last two items lets the sales team know how you will be sharing their information and how often. Now, your reporting form is going to be different. It's going to reflect the information that you want to have tracked and reporting. So consider what detail you need to manage and assess sales performance, and then taking that information, manage your overall business. This example should be used to help you think through your process, adjust it as necessary, add, change, delete, and create your own tracking and sales reporting form. Next page. Well, over the last 10 years, CRMs, customer relationship management programs, have developed to being very user-friendly and very reasonably priced for small to medium-sized businesses. In a nutshell, it's the technology and processes that an organization uses to manage its contacts, its relationships, and its sales funnel. They all sync with major email programs, and that allows all of the communications for that client to be in one place. The system can be set up to generate follow-up activities such as thank you emails after the initial call, promotions, meeting reminders, follow-ups on quotes that you have outstanding, and so on. You could see how your business, as the manager and the owner, you could see how your business is performing from one screen in live time, any time of the day or night. Now, the big win for everyone is that it frees up more time for your sales team to work on what they do best, and that's selling, not filling out forms, not worrying about follow-ups. They're all going to pop up on his screen every day. It's a win-win for everyone. Here's a short list of some of the top CRMs for small businesses. It has been my personal experience that once you've used one for a period of time and understand how to harness its power, you wonder how you ever made it happen before. In particular, if you're in an industry that has a high sales force turnover, these programs ensure a good transfer of individual client information and its history from one salesperson to another. You've probably all been faced with a salesperson leaving and you find out his records are almost non-existent. Having a CRM in place for as little as $25 a month per person ensures that that will never happen again, assuming you're tracking and managing and making sure that that particular salesperson in place is using that CRM properly. And that goes on to really the point, as a business owner, the key to success of a CRM is the commitment you make to implement it or for you to use it, and it starts from you down. So you're going to receive all this information, so don't worry about taking it down. If you need assistance in considering implementing one, then please feel free to reach out to me. Compensation. What's the best program? One of the most common questions we get. Well, the methods are all well vetted. All have met with success, and all of them at one time or another have met with failure. Compensation, however, is a very important tool in driving your top line or generating a good return on investment that you make in that salesperson. What's the best for you? Well, there are a few things to consider when developing a sales compensation program and the approach you take. First, what type of business do you have? Is it transactional, such as retail with many on-time sales every day, week, or month? Or is it a long sales cycle, such as selling a business equipment or construction with a larger revenue attached at the end? These include building relationships with a number of people involved in that decision over a very long period of time. Or is it recurring revenue, such as landscaping or pest control, where the customer agrees to a routine service for a period of time? The transaction revenue is certainly smaller, but continues over a longer period of time. So how do you compensate? What's the best program to compensate your salesperson? For each of these, it can be different. In some cases, it should be different to address the differences that we just spoke about. So what you can do today, I think, is complete the workbook with the program that you currently have in place. If it's not driving your sales growth, then compensation is certainly one area to dive into, and I can help you with that analysis. So let's just go over very briefly some of the common methods. Straight commission, we're all familiar with that. It can vary from category to category. Here you can see it does. They pay more for trucks than cars. It's more profitable. It can pay out better on your key products, your ideal products that you're targeting. And most times it's put in place with a draw on commission after a paid training period. The draw is then reconciled quarterly, or as in this example, it is reconciled quarterly, and benefits are mentioned as well, and any employer funding of that should be noted here. Again, it's pretty simple, pretty clear. Basically, this is for your sales management and training folks. Now, the next is straight salary. And this is one that you see a lot, but it has to be managed very closely. And the reason is you're laying out a salary every month. It's not variable whether they generate $1 or $10,000. So you have to watch it. You have to give them goals. It has to be managed, but it is appropriate in certain situations. And the last is a hybrid of both. Salary plus an annual bonus that could be paid quarterly, for example, or monthly. Again, it has to be managed closely, and it has to you have to hold those salespeople accountable for their goals. And of course, there's many variations on these, but documenting it in your sales plan puts it all down in writing. And then if you need any assistance in evaluating, I'm available. Now, the next page and the last page in your workbook is company policies. This is one of the things that's so difficult to finally commit, and everybody seems to put it again on the back burner. But documenting your policies has never been more important than now. The possibility of employers being held liable over any number of issues seems to grow every year. Now, just think about the pandemic and the employee safety issues it immediately raised. I find it remarkable how employers in general have responded to the pandemic, implementing one new process and policy after another, following what's going on with the government and their recommendations, addressing the safety of their employees and their customers, social distancing, and certainly working from home and all of the change in policies that you would have when you had 10 or 20 or 30 people working in an office. Now, all of a sudden, they're scattered all over the counties. All of these were never expected, much less put in writing, but I know now they will be. So let's go through and fill out what your company policies are. This has been completed with the most common issues that new employees have during the onboarding process, and add it, delete the ones that are not relevant. So that thanks you've completed your workbook, and the sales plan, for all intents and purposes, is completed. You have some work to do based on what we went over today. And again, I know we went through a lot in a very short period of time, but you now have a sales plan that you can hand to your sales, HR, your operations person, and certainly yourself to know and challenge, and for everyone to execute. So thank you for your participation. I know a lot of questions will be coming up and will require more time to develop the best answer for each of your businesses. But please feel free to reach out to me for assistance in completing your sales plan or any other business issue you may have. It's at no cost to you, as Ali mentioned, through the SBDC. Now I'm going to turn over to Ali, who's going to cover how to contact us and any other closing comments she may have. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Ed. Now we're going to open it up for any questions. As I mentioned in the intro, if you have questions, please type them into the question section on your control panel, and we will address them. As Ed mentioned, there on the screen is our contact information. If you're local in the Jacksonville and Northeast Florida region, there's our contact info, the SBDC at UNF. And at the bottom there is the statewide network. If you are not local to our area, there is a location near you throughout the state of Florida. So some questions that we will go ahead and address now while everybody, if you have questions, type them in now. One said, if I'm a sole practitioner, why do I need to do this?
Well, good. That's a good question. And I have been a sole practitioner and had a sales plan. However, it's just as important for you as an individual as to be intentioned about what you're doing and what your goals are. Just saying that my sales goal, I'm going to do, $500,000 this year, or whatever business you may be in, and it's a sole practitioner, is not good enough. You haven't broken it down. You haven't gotten the detail of who you're going to be going after, who your target customers are. It's just as important for you to be accountable to yourself and intentioned with yourself by committing it in writing. I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Thank you. We did have another one pop up from Vicki. Thank you for the question, Vicki. Great job. Love the homework. I would love to hear how people are selling during COVID.
Okay, that's certainly another good question. selling during COVID has probably been done just like we're doing today, virtually, and a lot of phone, I'm sure. That would be perhaps a question, Jody, that you have, that perhaps your clients, maybe some of your client experience, maybe you may be able to share.
So yeah, I'd be happy to jump in on that. It just depends on the business. What I have seen on a lot of my clients is they have very quickly found ways to pivot either what the product is that they're selling to make it more conducive to their customers, or more importantly, they've pivoted in the way they sell their product. And a great example of that is restaurants. They've been shut down multiple times, then they've been given, the allowance of you can have 25% occupancy. Well, what I saw a lot of my restaurant clients do was immediately transition to carry out and delivery, where they did not do that previously. And they went on to social media and broadcast it to the world of, we can now do this for you. So that pivot was a way to get that product or service into the hands of their customers and prospective customers, putting in all the safety measures and things that were required in order to give those customers peace of mind. They implemented those new processes in order to keep their revenue coming in and making more sales. So I would say that's how people are selling, either pivoting what you sell or pivoting how you sell it. That's a great exercise to do in some brainstorming and research. If you want to talk more about that, by all means, please feel free to reach out to us. We can do that. But that's what I'm seeing from my clients.
Well, you made me think about, I guess, at least one other client happened to be a restaurant that during, I guess, the shutdown, they had already started distilling and their own spirits. And they decided with what happened with COVID, and this was during the complete lockdown, that they needed to pivot and diversify from just serving food and alcohol to selling alcohol and going beyond their own restaurant and going and selling their own spirits to other restaurants and out to retail. So that became a selling to a different channel. To completely diversify and try to smooth out things, not put all your eggs in one basket. So again, those are things that we can help you with, and at least help you think through that process and come up with what is the appropriate strategy for pivoting, pivot strategy, so to speak.
Thank you for answering that. We've got another one that popped in from Phil. Thoughts on how to plan when products are highly customized. Example, company makes weather and sound enclosures for commercial standby generators. No two are the same.
Okay, well, that hit me this immediately with, that's your point of differentiation. Everything is unique. You can react quickly, customize it entirely to what their needs are. And I would think that might be your point of differentiation, and that would be your lead in finding people that that install these pieces of equipment that require it, and perhaps partner with them. But right away, that struck me as, if you can customize everything, I mean, that's it's almost like a cottage industry. It's very unique these days that everything is one-off. We're all trying to generalize and minimize that kind of thing. So that's sounds like an interesting marketing plan.
Thank you, Ed. Just a couple more questions here. There's too much detail for what I do. How to incorporate this if they feel it's too much.
Yeah, I thought about that in putting this together, that there's, all types of folks here, from sole practitioners and entrepreneurs to probably businesses, 20, 30 people, 40 people. Simply just, when it doesn't apply to you, put it aside, just trim it down to where, you got the basics. It is a lot of detail. Car dealerships, for example, have a lot of detail. They have a lot of people and a lot of products. But for some smaller business, it may be not 9 or 10 pages. It may be 3 or 4 pages, or it may be each page with very simple intentioned information on there. So just trim it down and feel free. There's no set, it's got to be this way plan. It's what fits your business, and we can help you do that.
Oh, thank you. And it looks like just one more. How does it fit into my overall business plan? You might have touched on it a little bit with a previous question, but just in wrapping up.
Yeah, and wrapping up, well, you think about your business plan goes beyond just sales and your products. It goes, goes into your financing and, so many other things, your marketing. I mean, we really didn't talk in detail about your marketing programs. We just said there's advertising and all of that has to be, drilled down. So this is just, we drilled down on the sales side of it. But when you talk about your pricing, your products, that all becomes part of your overall business plan, the details to it, and sales plan is certainly part of it. And then you also have your mission, your overall objectives. You have a sales objective, but there may be other objectives and missions that you have in your business other than simply the sales side of it. There's, the nonprofits have other things to look at other than sales. So it's just a piece of the overall.
Great, thank you. And that is the last of the questions we've received. If anybody has any more going once, type them in now. And just to reiterate, last chance for everybody who is still on the call, in the handout section of your control panel, if you open that, you will find the download for the workbook. So grab that now. And then also this afternoon, we will be sending out the recording and the survey. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm not seeing any other questions come in, so I think we'll go ahead and call it a day. Ed, thank you for an excellent presentation. It was all very good information. And anybody who is interested in following up with Ed on a more one-on-one basis on how this can be applied to your business, contact information is on the screen, or send me an email, or it'll be in the email that is going out this afternoon. So with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. Ed, thank you. Jody, thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.